Hello my beautiful friends and welcome back. So today we are joined with an unfamiliar face. We've not had her on the channel for a while. So my
2
sister,
years or something, is it?
nearly 2 years, which is insane.
Hi.
Actually, listen to this, right? So I went out about 2 weeks ago and this girl, like I never met her before, like we just got talking.
A subscriber.
Well, you know, yeah, she had said like, oh, do you do YouTube videos? And I was like, yeah. And then she was like, who's your friend that has a baby? I was like, I don't have a friend that has a baby. She's like, you do. You have a friend that has a baby online. And I was like, are you on about Melanie? She goes,
I'm gonna cry. Don't say that.
And she was like, that's my sister. She was like, that's your sister. I feel like a lot of people still think we're friends.
Yeah.
And
it's our surnames are different.
Yeah.
Like on Instagram, if I tag Jess, I'm tagging Jessie B, Jessica Brennan, and I'm Murphy.
Yeah.
So, and like maybe some people tell us in the comments, do you think we look alike or not at all? Because like we used to get a lot of like, you're like twins. We maybe did look a little bit more like a few years ago, but I never thought we did. Like if I look at pictures of us, I could see certain little resemblances.
I just find it mad that like I just assume that everyone who follows us knows, but they don't.
They don't.
Like I feel like less people know. You used to love us together.
Yeah,
so we're back.
I'm the much older sister. So yeah, if you're, I think it's the same with my followers. I have younger followers who I think would love your channel.
Yeah.
And you might have some older followers. I'm 32, so come over to my channel if you're NL one.
So we thought today we would just sit down and have a little bit of a relaxed chat. Kind of like a chat we'd be having if we were just in the pub having a few drinks, you know?
We've not planned any of this, so we just wanted to break the filming barrier because it's been a long time.
Yeah, so and I feel like them conversations can be a lot more enjoyable to watch. Like so we're going to have a little bit of a chat about being bisexual and ending up with men, because we are both bisexual, which is something else people get really pissed off about, that like, oh yeah, two sisters that are
what's
bisexual.
The likelihood of that? We made a video a few years ago about this, and yeah, a lot of my friends are bi, and a lot more people are feeling comfortable being open about being bi.
And a lot of people are also exploring their sexuality, like trying to figure out if they are or not.
Yeah.
So
some people use the label and then they stop using the label if they don't feel like it fits them anymore. I made a reel on Instagram a few months ago, and it's more likes than, you know, my pregnancy announcement and my wedding pictures. Like it, and it's about being married to a man and being bi, and people not believing that you're bi, and that label isn't applicable anymore if you're not like single or with a woman, which I just don't, I can't, because your relationship status is not your sexuality. And that's what we wanted to talk about today, because the two of us obviously ended up with lads that we've known a long time,
which is also crazy. Like I've had people being like that, the similarities between you and Melanie, like both of the, I've got hair on my top lip,
I've got hair in my nose as well.
I'm trying to pick it out for like you were talking for like 5 minutes, I've just been like here, like completely ignoring you. Like,
thanks.
But like, yeah, like when I did the video, like talking about mine and Jeremy's whole story and all, people were like, how have you and Melanie ended up with people who yous were, you know, had crushes on during your childhood? And like it was both like me and Jeremy were like 9 years before we'd first kissed. You and Thomas was something similar.
A huge part of this conversation, I feel like, though, is that in life it's very rare that you really vibe with a person and you really click with them, and you know, you're so attracted to them, but you're just like in sync on so many different levels, and that doesn't happen all the time. Like you could be single for years and years and years, and it might only happen like once or twice, you know. Like even if you're meeting all kinds of different people, like we have both met an awful lot of people and like had single time and everything like that, and there's just always been people in my life where I've been like, you know, they just stand out above everyone that you're attracted to and stuff. And so that doesn't happen often, regardless of whether you're straight or you're gay or you're bi or whatever. But when you are bisexual, it's not like if you're a bisexual woman, it's not like every pretty, attractive person that you're actually attracted to them. Because I see loads of beautiful women all the time. I see loads of like good looking men, but I'm not attracted to them, you know? And I think that's what a lot of people miss. Like they're like, oh, you've got so many more options and everything like that. But like, it doesn't mean that you're automatically attracted to more people.
No,
in that way where you really vibe with them and buzz with them and stuff. And I've only had that with like realistically one girl where I was like, I feel like there's a lot here.
Yeah.
You know, but then there's been girls though, I mean, where it was both ways.
Yeah,
But there's been girls where like we had the same crush on the same girl. I won't name names, but
please don't.
I will. But my husband and I actually met this girl together at an event, and we both found her extremely attractive. Like, and because Jessie had met her before me, and
no, still haven't met her.
Oh, you not met her? How did you know her so well?
FaceTimes and
right.
It's so obvious who we're talking about as well.
No, it's not. No, ignore
It's so obvious.
Ignore her.
She's gonna know.
No, she's not.
If you take a straight person and you take your pool of people you're attracted to, that's the same for people who are bisexual.
Yeah.
Like, that pool doesn't grow, because to have that connection,
it's not common to connect so strongly with people, and with us and our particular situation. Like, I don't want the whole video to be focused on our particular situation. I wanted to go into it more about like why this bothers me so much when people say it. But we, like, Jessie grew up in like rural Ireland, like Roscommon, and I grew up in Dublin. So like maybe I was around, maybe my school was bigger and stuff like that. But even still, I remember in my school, like, no one talked about this kind of thing. Like, there was a couple of girls, and I believe they actually are bisexual now. But I remember at the time everyone was like using awful slurs and calling. Everyone was just like, oh, she's a big lesbian. She's a big lesbian. And it was this like it was spoken about in an awful way. And like, when I was in school, obviously it was a very long time ago, back in the dinosaur era. Things have changed a huge amount in recent years, and anyway, when I was younger, like, it just wasn't that much spoken about. So I think a lot of people probably in my age group, in my dating pool, would not be out. Like, and because like, in Ireland, like, I don't know anyone.
Well, when you say that, like, so you say in school you had an experience where there was there a couple of girls out, or was that just one girl?
And like, sometimes you'd be drinking, and like, you know, me and this girl were kissing, and she was kind of saying about, that's when I'd first heard the word bisexual. Like, and I was quite old. In my school, there was not one person who was out gay. Oh, wow, okay. So, like, to me, like, I wasn't exposed to it at all. And even when I first came out online, I don't think I left my house for like nearly 2-3 weeks, because I was so terrified of people in the town
seeing me.
The video.
Well, I know they were going to see it, but then to see me, and like, I had so much shame inside me, because I couldn't even accept that part of myself. You know, so I was like, how are other people meant to accept it? Because
Jessie never talked to me, like, never sat down with me, and she knew like I was bi, and she never sat down with me and kind of just had the coming out talk. Like, we were on an escalator, I think, or we were somewhere out in public, and we were talking about people we'd slept with, and Jessica just like dropped in. It was either a girl's name, or it was like 2 girls' names. Yeah, and it was something, the way you revealed it. Was that a hair on me? They're floating everywhere. Sorry, the cat was just on the bed. Just kind of popped into conversation and stuff like that, and I believe anyway, I reacted in a very normal way, and I didn't go, what? Like, I was just kind of like, I tried to just carry on the conversation as normal, but in my head I was like, oh my god. Like, I remember like being like, why have we never talked about this before? What happened was, like, just say I said Sarah, and you were like, sorry, what was her name? Or what was their name? And I went, Sarah. And then you were like, oh. Like, you know, because you were like, did I mishear that? Because that's what, and I've always wished that I was more, like, people could just talk about it like that. You know, like, just kind of casually say it and stuff. I'm actually, Melanie, these cat hairs are in my mouth and on my mouth and in my nose, and I'm just like... Alright, let's just stop touching the blanket. What bothers me so much, let me know if you have had a similar experience, is that if you're a woman and you're bisexual and you end up with a man, it's like, oh, you were never bisexual? Is that another cat hair? Yeah. If you're a man and you end up with a man, it's like, oh, you were just gay all along. Like, there's just these... You were just kind of covered up. Like, there's just these, like, big assumptions about it. But I definitely don't feel as strong a tie to the identity of bisexual as I did when I was single. Yeah. And the reason I would say that is because, you know, when you're single, like, it matters so much. It's much more important, because, like, now that I'm with someone, it's not a topic of conversation as much. Like, I don't feel like I need that label. But when I was single, I really wanted people to know I was bisexual, so that they wouldn't, like, if I met a girl that was also interested in girls, that she wouldn't, like, automatically, like, you know, exclude me from options. And so it's something that I really, really strongly identified with it as part of who I am, and I needed everyone to know about it, and I talked about it all the time because I really wanted to be seen as who I am on the outside. And now that I am with a man, it's like people think that that's just not a thing anymore, like, and it is, because like I would, but I only feel comfortable now really talking about it with my husband, because like he knows and accepts me for who I am. Like Diarmuid is the same with you.
I was just about to say, like, I find that funny, like the way you're saying, like, that you don't identify, you know, it's not the heavily part of you as it was when you were single.
Wouldn't put it in my bio.
Yeah, because when I was in my previous relationship, I was like that. I was really heavily identifying with it, but that was solely because the way he viewed my bisexuality was that it was hot and it was sexy, and it was more so for his pleasure than like that this was part of who I am.
I can't stand that.
And whereas now, like with Diarmuid, like, I don't know if you guys saw like my assumption videos, but like one of the assumptions was like that you're not bisexual, and his answer was, what do you mean? Like, I know you are. So like his view of it is like it's not sexual in the slightest, like, you know, it's solely like he understands that it's my sexuality. And so now I'm not like much more comfortable with that, like I don't feel like I have to, like, you know, kind of prove it, like, because I felt like in my previous relationship nearly dismissing it in a way, like it's like, this is not for you. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like that's another really huge thing, is like it depends on the partner you're with and the way they view it, because I feel like if you're with partners who are kind of, even though you could be with men, like, who, if you're with them, they're like, well, you're straight now, like, you'd get that as well. It makes such a difference being with somebody who totally accepts it
And doesn't fetishize it.
Like,
when I've been there definitely with guys where they're just like, oh, that is so hot, and like just seeing it purely from a perspective of like almost like treating you like you're a character in a porno, you know. And
oh my god, in my previous relationship, when I first brought up my bisexuality, it was very like around that time, I remember him saying,
tell me he's like, oh, threesomes?
He said, down the line then, does that mean that? And like, that is just, that really hurts. Like, it really hurts.
It's seeing you almost as like a prop, or like as a fleshlight of sorts. A human fleshlight. It's very invalidating to tell someone else who they are. Like, when someone tells you who they are, just trust that that's who they are.
Take it with open arms.
Because even though like I don't feel the need to necessarily bring it up in conversation as much and stuff like that with strangers, because like I'm not kind of like trying to find a partner or whatever, it's still part of who I am. Like, you know, if my husband and I are watching a show and like I want to feel comfortable talking about who I find attractive in the show, whether it be man or woman, or talking about my history of dating, or like people I've been with and stuff, and like it's just it does still come up sometimes. And during those times recently, I have felt this weird thing of like because of external, like, other people online being like, oh, but you're with a man, like, you're just another one of those bisexual women who ended up with a man, so you were never bi in the first place. And it's like, oh, so if I ended up with a woman, I would have been still bisexual, or then
you'd be gay.
There would have been people telling me I was a lesbian then, because like Rose and Rosie, one of them is very openly bisexual, and like she ended up married to a woman, and like she gets that as well, like to a certain extent. They just had a baby together and stuff like that. Like, it's not it's not like it's gonna make a huge amount of difference to you, because like if you're two people in love and in a happy relationship, and like the fact whether they're a man or a woman, like, it just shouldn't be such a defining thing for the partner. You know? Have you ever had the comments of people being like, it's performative? Like, you're like...
Oh, I've had people say, like, it's for trying to get attention on social media. You're just using it as another thing to add to your resume. Like,
people have said that for years. Like, I remember actresses would come out and it'd be all like, sure she is. And then it'd be like, well, yeah, I've been dating this girl for like 3 years. They'd be like, oh, whatever.
This is something that I've spoken about a lot on my channel, but it's also something that like so many people don't take into consideration. Like, it's like the fact, like, so even like you, I know you're a lot older than me, but like you would have probably had more experiences with women than me, and but also where we were living. Do you know, like, you were traveling, you were getting to do all these things. Like, I was younger, I was stuck in rural Ireland where this was not spoken. Like, people are very close.
I still remember bringing you to events and stuff like that in different countries, and Jessie would be like, you know, you'd be around other girls who were openly bi and out and stuff like that, and we'd be like talking about who we liked, and I just remember you were just so like, it was
giddy.
like a kid in
a
candy shop, or like a kid on Christmas morning, like, as in like, this is like a possibility, like this is a thing.
It was like a new world to me though.
Yeah. Because
like all I had ever seen was like stuff online, which, as you know, like the online world can feel like another world. Yeah. Like, you know, especially when like you're looking at your life and your surroundings and you're like, okay.
Yeah. Like before the internet and stuff, people's options were limited. It was like where you lived, or like if you moved away, obviously like some people would still move, but you didn't have what the world is now, like this whole interconnectedness and these dating apps and all this kind of stuff, and like just even exposure to different ways of living and
different kinds of people.
Yeah,
different
like
cultures, and
you were just really, really limited, so you'd be waiting to spark with somebody, and that just happens so rarely anyway. But when you're looking at like capacity for attraction, that begins from a very young age, and you do know if you're like bi or gay or whatever a lot of the time quite young, and sometimes you might not admit it to yourself for a very long time, or it might take you a long time to understand that part of yourself. A lot of the time that's kind of there from a young age, and like I just, as soon as I was old enough to know that a man and a woman were like there and they were different, and like there was different things I was drawn to in those two different sexes, and like, you know, I'd have like a teacher that I'd find hot and it would just happen to be a woman, or there'd be a person in an ad on TV, or like,
do you know what's really funny is, like you were just saying there, like when it normally starts really young, like the attraction. And like, I just like thinking back, like I was actually quite old before I ever actually had my first genuine crush on a fella, whereas I had crushes on girls from very young. And I remember being in second class, so I would have been like 7 or 8, and there was this one boy, and me and my friend were both interested in him, and I remember being so jealous.
Kind of crushes.
I was so jealous, but what it actually came down to was, I wasn't jealous because he was interested in her. I was jealous because she was interested in him and not me. And like, you know, but I couldn't work that out, obviously, but it was actually like that, like, she was giving him her attention. Yeah. Do you know, and not me.
Oh yeah, there was the stuff like that in school. Like there was a girl who used to she always had like her skirts rolled up, and she used to wear these kinds of type of socks, and she had that type of skin that we do not have. Like I have very like pasty Irish skin, but she had that kind of, you know, when you see people's legs and arms and stuff, and they have really soft, smooth, there's no like bumps, she was just that kind of beautiful skin. And anyways, she had like kind of brownish legs, and like I was like a little perv. I was always looking at her legs being like, she's so gorgeous, oh my god. And all my friends, I remember, were just like really, 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 really jealous of her, and that made me think that the way I was feeling was I was jealous of her, but it wasn't. I was admiring her. You were, all the time admiring her.
I had a lot of stuff like that in secondary school as well, where I always was then like putting it down to jealousy, but I feel like that's also you trying to like
repress it. Yeah, because it's, if you look at like history and historically, like sexual fluidity was just so much more of a thing, and I feel like a lot of it is from religious and like and heteronormativity and stuff, but the effects on that, like you can be unwrapping and unwinding them for years and years and years.
But it's like, if I even take like in secondary school, when like for years like I did know, and like I just like accepted girls at that point and stuff, but I was already having such a hard time in school that to me it was not worth it, like in the slightest, to have ever. So it was only kind of when I left school that I started kind of figuring myself fully out, like, and you know, being able to do all that, which I feel like happens for a lot of people. It's only when they get to like, you know, they get out of school and they get to kind of their own independence and their own freedom that they're able to actually like explore, and kind of without like the judgments of like their parents or like their kind of close-knit family. Had I have ever kind of came out in school or something, like I can't even imagine like the shit that like
it would have caused.
Like I was bullied, like the things that girls, there was a group of girls like for a period of time, like, and and that was like over like a fella. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so imagine like I had expressed interest that I was openly interested in girls.
Yeah.
Like, it would have been.
And this is what I mean, is like, imagine like how many people are still going through all this, and like it narrows down the LGBTQ group potential of like how many people, because I know a lot of people who have said I'm bisexual when they're drunk to me. They're not out as bisexual. They'd never, if they were single and someone else was single, it would never happen, because they're not outward about it, and they're not like, I've had like moments where there's like been a thing and it's like another person who's like in a relationship with a guy or something like that, or like they're single but they're like, oh no, I'm straight, and like they only like guys, and so that it's immediately shut down. It's just not happening. And I always said that, like, I always thought I probably would end up with a guy, because at the end of the day there was guys approaching me and coming on to me and offering to bring me on dates, and like, you're not going to turn that down because you're like, oh no, I have to like end up with a woman to prove I'm bisexual.
It's
so
like,
I never felt like that.
I was kind of similar, like, because even like because where I live, there was nobody out. Like, I was never approached, or even I'd go on dating apps and like they wouldn't reply.
Yeah.
And it'd be like, okay, well, I'm not the person, like, I'm not normally the forward kind of person.
Oh yeah, same.
So if they weren't, I'm just like sat there looking at my phone, like, at her profile, like, now what?
Yeah, it's like, do you know what it is? It's like, I feel like people expect that if you're a bisexual woman. Sorry, I've had hairs as well.
The whole video I've just been
I've probably
off.
had hairs on my face, sorry. One of my cats is not well, so maybe he's shedding a lot. Yeah. What it is people seem to think that if you're a bisexual woman, that you should actually be a lesbian, and you should end up with a woman, because that's the only way
that's right.
Yeah.
Technically, people see it as like morally correct.
Yeah. There's a lot more straight women, and there's a lot more straight men. So then for a bisexual woman, the pool of options usually is weighted in the men way. And yeah, like the two guys we ended up with, we had attraction to them for a very, very long time, and a lot of people end up with someone from their past because you've had it built up for so many years, and it's lovely.
Jim literally said, like, 3 days ago we went out for a walk, and he was just looking at me, and I was like, what? He was like, who would have thought, eh? Me and you, and I'm in my heart. Like, I was
so
like,
cute.
But it just shows, like, because, like, back when me and him, like, had a thing years ago and all, and when that was done, like, I swore that was it, like, so it's like, you genuinely never know who is around the corner. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and
it doesn't matter if it's a boy or a girl if you're bisexual. It's just nice to be open to whoever it is for the person.
To love.
Yeah.
Be open to fucking love. Yeah, so we just thought we'd sit down and have a little chill chat, because we haven't filmed in so long, so just to ease our ways back into it. But we really want to start doing a lot more videos together, and we're actually filming a video over on Mel's channel as well, just kind of a bit of a life update, and kind of as well diving a little bit into like falling out, making out up, as I'm sure a lot
making out.
I hope not.
God, this will end up on Pornhub.
A lot of you guys like had questions about, you know, our relationship, our fallout, our makeup, so we're going to have a chat about that over Mel's channel, so definitely go, and you've got another one to watch after this. Yeah. You've seen a lot more of us around, and thank you so much for watching.
And I'm sorry I've not been here. There's been a pandemic and a baby, and also we had a fight, so forgive me.
But yeah, I cannot wait to see you all in my next video, and I love you all so very much. Bye.